Also, one of the terms and stories we couldn't avoid this year were the MOOCs, and whether we like them or not, but they were definitely one of the hype words, and well, they got their funding, and of course everybody was talking about, oh, it's so great to learn things for free out there on the internet, and those founders have really a vision, and well, let's include the stories about Khan Academy and so on in this complex here. But yeah, for you, Chris, we had the founders of Coursera early on. Was that inspiring? Was that the year of the MOOC for you?
It was not the year of the MOOC for me, because
For me neither.
Yeah, a couple of reasons. One, I didn't have a need for it. I'm a pretty good Googler, and I tend to be one to sort of independently seek out information. Mm-hmm. That being said, I think there is a lot of value in opening up the inherent value in opening up education to whomever can attend, and creating these global communities. I think that's great and important, and an important part of what the internet can give us. I think in some ways it's helped legitimize independent education, and I think that's also a very important part of this. You don't necessarily have to get your 4-year degree and a 3-year master's and a few-year doctorate to have a lot of really solid information and be able to be a productive person in your job or whatever you're doing in the world. So anything that helps get past this idea that you must go spend $150,000 on a college education, okay, that's good. It's even, I think, gotten people thinking, along with the recession, it got people thinking, well, I don't need to go to Harvard. I can go to the University of Massachusetts and pay a quarter of that amount and still get a great education and still move on. This whole idea of the MOOC, if you can get an education anywhere, well, then go ahead and get your education anywhere. So there's a lot of value in that, and I think that's an evolving story as we sort of change the way that we look at higher education. MOOCs themselves, though, I think they'll always exist, but I have to wonder if, where these folks are headed in terms of, there's a lot of money been thrown at these businesses. Mm-hmm. How are they going to be monetized? How are they going to, even if they're nonprofits, how are they going to, sustain themselves?
And many of them are for profits, actually, and I mean, right. We can already imagine what the upsells are going to be, and I mean, in Udacity partnered once again with our ubiquitous name Kirsten for some testing. We see that Coursera has the upsell currently of job placement, and I mean, they had this sort of backlash on their in their terms and conditions that some educator actually took the time and looked through the terms and conditions and how restrictive they are with taking open educational resources and lectures and making them then a Coursera course, which you are not allowed to independently then distribute and use, right, and so on. So these are definitely signs I don't like very much. On the other hand, you mentioned the investors, and as soon as investors are involved, and I mean, MOOCs, they are not a new thing. So yes, the term, coining that phrase or term MOOC, okay, that has been a thing of 2012, I think, along with the enthusiasm of the general tech, right, blog, Silicon Valley, and so everything. I mean, also Thrun coming from Google and now doing Udacity, and all of that added to making it MOOC into one of the phenomena of 2012. But I mean, rather sooner than later, they definitely have to work on their business models, and so there has definitely, in one way or the other, upsells probably around credentials, testing, somewhat diplomas, right, later on, and so on. And I think this is why some of the universities, if we look at what 2U, so formerly Tudor, now do with Sememster Online and that consortium of colleges and universities sort of creating their anti-MOOC and saying we provide high quality education and we have some courses on one or the other MOOC platform and this is okay for us. But our quality content and the quality lectures and those limited classes of 20 students and then exchanging with the professors and learning or taking this course online and in the end getting their diploma or certificate and so on. And this has this and that price tag. I think is going to be one of the things of 2013 that probably not only because the MOOCs are really focused on those high-profile universities. And everybody in the mid-section, at the moment you just have cheap or for free or very high priced and high quality. So I think all the colleges in the middle, the solid ones, but not the ones with the big name, they have to think what to do. And probably then, whether you want to call it anti-MOOC or their online program, maybe in cooperation with some of these startup providers like 2U and Sememster Online, I think this is going what we are going to see increasingly in 2013.
Right. Yeah, I mean, if these MOOC startups can become more of software as a service, and they become a platform for other universities and other educators, I think there's a real opportunity to make solid money there, as well as to do good by providing educational resources en masse. The more they can scale, the better they can serve a lot of universities and a lot of colleges and schools who can then make use of the platform, and I think that's all for the best. I just don't see people throwing quite as much enthusiasm behind taking a class with 150,000 other people. That's I think 2013 in the rest of the web, certainly in Google's web and elsewhere, personalization is the name of the game, and being able to provide at scale and yet automatically provide these sorts of personalized Web 3.0 kinds of things. You're not getting any of that when you have that much scale in a class. And people create sub-communities, and you hear these wonderful, uplifting stories of the girl in Pakistan who got to finish her course, and she was so dedicated. I think those are the exceptions rather than the rule.
Absolutely.
You have a lot of people who are just participating because they are. So I think that we're going to see the opportunity for schools to make what they need of it. I mean, the Structure Canvas, for example, with their course network now, I think they're a good Canvas network, as they call it. Their goal is to be that platform, to scale as far as you want, or just have a really good place to offer your courseware that makes sense and you can personalize and individualize as much as you'd like. Reach as small a number of students or as large a number of students as you want. There are some things that are best shared with millions. There are some things that are best shared with 10.
I think that's a very good example, and we both, but individually, talked with one of the founders, and I mean, I at least asked him whether MOOC is the future of education or online education, and I think they take a more careful approach, but, not tooting the horns is, it gives you a lot of press, but saying we don't know yet what the future of online education is going to look like. So, as you said, in some aspects it might be massive, in some others it might be intimate, and you have this interaction. And having something agnostic, like we also see, for example, in the textbook space, Rafter, having something for everybody, and then we have to organically see in what direction it develops and itself, and we have to see. We are still so early on to predict is it going to be MOOC or what. I would say I would have some hopes, at least for Udacity, looking at Thrun's background, of really seeing what machine learning might bring to the whole process of talking about real adaptive solutions. Because at the moment, what is adaptiveness for us in the math space? Yes, you have either this pass, or this, so 3 different things. But in the end, the whole class must fit in one of these 3 ways. And
exactly.
So this is not yet, I think, what adaptive learning, or maybe, in my opinion, through machine learning and way smarter people than I are working on this stuff, so I can only imagine probably a tiny little bit of that. But of course, the opportunities are really, really promising if we get it right. So
well, that's key. There's that personalization, and you know, I've written a lot that everyone needs to have sort of an individual educational plan. Everyone should be treated as special education because everyone learns in a slightly different way. And there's probably, I mean, this is where big data comes into the whole thing. This is where this massively parallel computing power that folks like Google can leverage, Amazon, whomever, and really deliver something that is meaningful to every student who participates. And I think that one thing that's going to come out of this is sort of this trickle down of technology, and we're going to see more and more. We're already seeing some pretty good adaptive learning applications. There's some language learning stuff that's quite good. There's literacy, some math applications that are excellent, at least at the K-12 level. But I think that can scale out pretty nicely to things that really help provide individualized resources when either a teacher can't, or if you're actually taking a curriculum independently. It's also interesting with homeschooling, for example. I think homeschooling has lost some of its stigma because people realize there's a lot of great resources available, and as more things like this become available, then people can make their own choices around how they're educated.
And you mentioned the question around this whole MOOC thing, whether these are people on a mission or maybe on a mission to make money. I would still, despite all that backlash in 2012 on Khan Academy, choose Salman Khan as a person on a mission, because I believe, simply looking at the pure and vast numbers, he could have monetized Khan Academy even through Google AdSense for years now. Yes. And they still don't. And I believe they will not do. And I agree with these teachers and educators who sat down and analyzed some of the videos and saying, yes, I agree with you that one person cannot teach every subject equally as well. But on the other hand, I think picking in some of the videos and pointing on and saying this is not good and this is not correct and you could do it better like this, I think that was good, and they took the first step, but they didn't take the second step in creating their own Khan Academy style thing and being on a mission. And it's possible. The tools are out there. It doesn't cost anything. It costs your time. And I'm a little bit disappointed that we don't see more initiatives of teachers and educators sitting down and creating their own thing if they are experts in their space and know how to do some of this stuff better. And I am actually very happy that we have Khan Academy and have all those nice lectures for free.
I mean, the whole point of Khan Academy was to address students who weren't learning in their particular context and provide a different context. So when students go and learn from their teacher in a classroom, if the things that he or she says doesn't quite click, well, then now you have another way to go about learning it. And it's always good to have multiple voices. Teachers have a tendency, I certainly did when I was in the classroom, to get stuck in our own way of, we teach the way that we learn. And when only a small fraction of your students learn the same way that you do, you're not going to be reaching them. So unless you are, I've seen truly brilliant teachers who can do a great job of differentiating for 30 students in a classroom. But that's nearly impossible, and it takes the true great teachers to be able to do it. What I've seen happen much more effectively for 99% of the teachers who are out there is to say, look, here's my way of presenting it. Here's 3 different places online where you can go and get some additional explanations, and let's come back tomorrow and let's talk about it. I think that's the evolution of the flipped classroom as well. Is there's of course been a backlash against this idea of the flipped classroom, and now you're doing homework in class. What's this all about? But really, the idea should be that students listen, learn, watch. Okay, now let's come back together. Let's share. Let's synthesize. Do that whole all the higher order stuff together with the guidance of a teacher. And I think that is going to be the continuing evolution as that vision is realized, and it's not just, okay, guys, you're going to watch this 30-minute video tonight, or I recorded my video and tomorrow we'll do our homework together. I mean, I think that's why we saw such a backlash against the flipped classroom in 2012, because it was not used as it was envisioned. And it
exactly. Yeah. I agree with you. People tend to see what's immediately in front of them and not see the bigger picture or the greater vision. And sure, it's sometimes hard when you're so much in your everyday work as a teacher and you don't have maybe all of that time, or, well, forward thinking is also hard. So following one person's vision and seeing how it could actually all fall back and come together is definitely easier to say, there the flipped classroom model is clearly flawed and so on. But once again, we are still at the very beginning. So the first adoptions are never the perfect solution. So we just have to give it some more time.
Exactly, and I hope that we don't throw out the baby with the bathwater, so to speak, because there's a lot of good there, just as there is with Khan Academy. Is it the be-all to end-all? Can you replace schools by just having students sit and watch YouTube videos all day? No, of course not. Can you provide students with a better supplement than having them just read sections of a textbook? Yes, you can, and you can have great discussions about that. That's the whole point. I mean, and which brings us to this idea of the textbook. It has not died. It seems to refuse to die. I would love to say that 2013 will see it on life support, but I think that's overly optimistic. But this idea of the dead tree textbook, or a PDF of the dead tree textbook on a tablet, which is exactly the same issue and problem, you're still not getting teachers and students creating and thinking and synthesizing and bringing together all this huge variety of wonderful resources that exist, from Khan Academy to Pearson's latest ebook. That's still not happening, and you're still having students read just PDFs, or you're having them look at a section of, maybe if you're lucky, it's got an embedded video. Wonderful.
Yeah, because I think there are a lot of things connected to that, but I mean, how many professors still today simply read their boring PowerPoint slides? So yes. Students are somewhat used to expecting boring lectures and not the multitude of new things that could be incorporated in that. And for me too, it's all very slow. But again, there are too many parties with interests connected to money in not having traditional textbooks die too soon. So. Yeah.
I mean, there's, I think what's interesting is that there's a lot of money to be made by deviating from that. And I call Kirsten again on this. Some of their latest efforts around developing books pull together open resources. They pull together chapters of proprietary resources or piece of proprietary resources that an instructor identifies, and they allow this customization for a particular course, so that students aren't going out and buying a $150 textbook and they'll read 3 chapters of it.
I agree. It's a very interesting and compelling approach, and hard for startups to jump in on that. And if Pearson says, you can completely customize it, you buy what you want, you can even combine it with your own material or open educational resources. We are here, we understand what you want. Hard to argue that it's not the case and they are bad and you should go for a startup and smaller and more open solution, and it's definitely they are definitely smart.
Yeah, but it is unfortunate that the barriers to entry are so high. I mean, Kirsten happens to have a massive library of proprietary content that they can draw from.
Absolutely.
And no startup will ever have that. That's not to say that a startup can't do a great job of assembling the open resources and finding the right contributors to create those resources, but as the folks at Kirsten said when they were revealing some of their latest ebook efforts, they said these are now moving targets, and in the past, books have always been sort of a static snapshot, and in a couple of years you write a revision, and that's it. These are now, their authors are no longer just authors, they're ongoing contributors to a body of knowledge, and that's powerful. And that, I think, is where a startup may have an opportunity, because you find the right people with the right body of knowledge in the right niche, and all of a sudden now you have an interesting story.